Have you ever heard financial terms or concepts and thought, this doesn't make sense? Well, you're in luck. Welcome to Make It Make Sense, the podcast powered by Acclaim Federal Credit Union, where we break down the world of financial literacy. At Acclaim, our goal is to connect you to financial wellness, and this podcast is here to lead the way. Whether you're just starting out or looking to sharpen your financial skills, we've got you covered. Let's make it make sense together. Here's your host, Christy Smith.
Welcome to Make It Make Sense, where we attempt to make sense of financial concepts. I'm Christy Smith, President and CEO of Acclaim Federal Credit Union.
Hey, and happy Friday. I'm Tommy, your co-host. I'm an account executive with ZTS, a managed service provider here in the Triad. And let me just say, we've got a fantastic show today. And it'd be a good time to pull out a notepad and maybe even take some notes or whatnot. But we've got Laura Bailey. And I'm going to read her bio because there's some very interesting tidbits in here that as people who are busy think about how in the world can I get things done, sometimes all you need is a mentor or somebody that you can look up to. But Laura Bailey is the president and owner of Bibey Machine Fabrication, a precision machining, fabrication, welding, and mobile service company. Hey, she's celebrating her 48th year in business. As of June 1st, 48 years, family business. Laura has led the company since 1999, overseeing daily operations and employee financial production management, all the things that goes into keeping a business running, which is absolutely exciting. Bibey Machine recently received the Triad Business Journal's Family Business Award. So not only is she an entrepreneur in a business, but it's a family business. And for those of you out there who may have experience in family business, that deserves a medal right there. The company is known for community partnerships, including a recent collaboration with Carolina Core Football Club or Soccer Club. Beyond the shop floor, Laura is deeply rooted in our community, and I've seen that firsthand. She serves as a Truist Local Advisor Board, has been heavily involved with the Greensboro History Museum. There's going to be a little tidbit there. She's also a trustee for the board there and recently president of the Greensboro History Museum. She serves as the library board of trustees for the city of Greensboro and is a board member of something that's near and dear to Christy and I, both of our heart, is the Triad Honor Flight, where she's flown on 8 flights. I think I got you but one. I've been on 9, serving as a guardian for 11 veterans. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. So listen to this. Laura's also a published author, having written A Hero and Advocate for All Others, and holds a bachelor's degree in business management from UNCG. She's got a master's degree in World War II studies. So our vets and our folks out there, hey, take notice of that. From Arizona State University, a background that connects beautifully with her work as a research historian focused on World War II biographies, oral histories, memorials, and monuments. Laura, thank you so much for joining us today. We can't wait to just kind of jump into some of these questions. So, Christy, why don't you take it from there and let's glean some Make It Make Sense information from Laura.
Laura, welcome to the show. We appreciate you again. With that bio, I'm extremely intimidated. I mean, my goodness.
No need to be.
That is exceptional.
Thank you.
And I will let you know that my husband did buy one of your books for my dad. So we're going to give that to him for Father's Day. So we're
Wonderful.
Super excited about that. So we hope to support you at least in that way. And I hope others will buy your book as well.
Thank you.
But for folks who've never heard of Bibey Machine, give us just the elevator pitch of what does the company do day to day?
Day to day, we are a job shop machine and fabrication company. And basically what that means is whatever job walks in our door, we've made our specialty. That's how my parents designed the business when they started it. But we can make the smallest of parts. In some situations, people come in off the street, they may have a broken bolt in a lawnmower blade. We can get that out for them. But we also do production runs for companies in the Triad. We rebuild grinders. We make mezzanines, catwalks. We make shafts, rollers. Basically, we are a machine shop that keeps the Triad moving. So, I mean, anything out of metal or plastic, we tend to try to make our specialty.
That's fantastic. So a little bit of a side question here. How much of the growth that you've seen through Randolph County, the Triad, or whatever, is that beginning to? Are you seeing some of that, or is this? You've been around so long, you've got such a well-established name. Are you seeing anything new from the growth we're having?
We are seeing some opportunities, and we've actually the Toyota battery. It's not a secret. That's one of our customers now. We are actually, being a job shop, it's hard to be ISO certified because we don't do the same product every day, every year. But we are working on an aerospace level of certification. Wow. And we have, we hope to engage in a relationship with Jet Zero. Boom. That is a target market for us because most of the employees that work with me, we love chaos. We like something new every day, and that's what a job shop does. But as we age a little bit, we wouldn't mind some more production work that lessens the chaos, if that makes sense. So, yeah, we are positively affected by the changes in the growth of the Triad area.
That's exciting. Glad to hear that. You've got 3 locations, 45 years of history. And chaos is something that just walks through the door. You never know. What does, or what is a typical day for you?
My parents and my brother and I, we've continued with the same plan. We do whatever it needs to be to get the job done. We all have our roles, our chairs on the bus, so to speak, as we like to use at the company. But I typically go in at 6:30 in the morning, and I talk with or meet with my leaders just to get a temperature check, my finger on the pulse of what's going on. Yeah. But I love problem solving. It's one of my gifts, I would say. But it's more and more my role to be the visionary and to look forward and look for opportunities of growth and opportunities to engage in the community and as well, and primarily invest in our employees and our vendors, because it takes all of those to be successful. So my job, more or less, is just trying to oversee and engage at all of those levels. I don't know if that's a clear answer, but
no, that was good. That was good. Mm-hmm. So that's what a day looks like for you. Walk us through how, especially in family business, but your background's not always been with a family business. You've got a lot of other different various things that you did before. Walk us through what that journey looked like from an account exec at one time. So you were, I guess, out beating the bushes, so to speak, right on up until where you are now.
So when I graduated from UNCG, my first job, actually my senior year, was with UPS as an intern, which turned into a full-time position as an account executive. I mentioned just a moment ago, I'm a problem solver. I like chaos. I don't like the mundane. So UPS put me into an account executive role, which was one to sell the product, sell the air services, et cetera. But it was also, I was the one that got called for the damages. So whenever there was a mad customer, I was the one that got sent out to the location to settle that matter. I enjoyed it. I stayed there for 4 years, and then I left and went to Polar Ralph Lauren. I worked in their traffic department. So also while I was there, and I don't think I shared this with you, I became a licensed U.S. Customs broker, because a lot of my work was to help manage the inflow of the product and the garments from around the world into the United States, et cetera. So those were the things I was doing. And, I hope it's all right that I'm very blunt, but, I grew up in the Triad area, very conservative area. So right out of college, coming to work for my dad was not an option, because and I don't mean this as a diss to him or anything like that, but it wasn't a woman's job. It wasn't a woman's profession, so to speak. And so I was actually positioning myself to move to Manhattan with Ralph Lauren. And then my father called and said, I'd like you to come to work for the company. And it totally went over my head that he was trying to keep his little girl here, But that's when I left Ralph Lauren, and I started working for the company in 1999. And as an administrative person, I was the only administrative person in the company at that time. And And 26, almost 27 years later, I'm still there.
That's fantastic. Obviously you're in a very blue collar position and in who you are. And so hats off to you being able to do what you've done and to grow the family business. So
thank you.
I know that's been fantastic. So anyway, thanks for sharing that with us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great story. And again, it's not just a story; that's your journey. So we appreciate you sharing that. We call chaos here; it's controlled chaos. So we do try to put some bumpers on it, but we do live chaos as well. So I think we do thrive somewhat on chaos. I don't particularly know why, but we do. I think we have to when you work for any small business. There is some level of controlled chaos.
Right.
But Bobby just won the Triad Business Journal's Family Business Award. What does that recognition mean to you and to your team?
I would have to say I'm very honored by it and very proud of it. Tommy has mentioned family businesses and everything, and we are a family business. But I think what sets us apart is when my brother and I both started with the company. Our father and my mother made it very clear that the bloodline got checked at the door. We weren't special because we were Bibeys. If anything, more was expected of us, and so and that's how we've rolled, if you will, for the entirety of the company's history. And to receive that award, and my son went with me to receive it, third generation, it was a very proud and a very reflective moment, if that makes sense. Just thinking about the sacrifices my parents made to get us to where we were and where we are now. My brother and I jumped in, and of course, we were part of the growth. But I think what blessed me the most by it was how proud our employees were to see that we received that. And, if I think we have approximately 60 employees and 5 of us are only blood related. So actually, 4, there are only 4. So to see those that aren't Bibeys in blood, appreciate it. It made it all the more magnificent to receive.
Well, that's
I'm sorry, Tommy.
I was just going to say that's a testament to her ability to generate that family atmosphere.
Well, I love that she said in blood.
Yep.
Because that meant that she thinks they're family, even though they're blood.
They're all Bibeys. That's right. We all are.
Yeah.
What a great culture.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, someone in that leadership role, Laura, obviously, probably early on, there was several times you may have been underestimated. Or maybe no one said anything out loud, but maybe sometimes they were thinking about it internally. What advice would you give to our listeners that maybe sometimes feel like maybe there's also a little bit of that do I really belong here?
Right.
Am I having a little bit of that thought of I really want to be here, but is my coworkers and my other folks underestimating? Am I a fraud? What kind of advice would you give folks?
That's a good question. I think it goes back to the answer I just gave just a moment ago. I'm not one that's ever been to play that I'm a female card or anything like that. So going into a blue collar job, I was a female and I was a Bibey. And so I had to make the conscious decision every day to forget both of those. And that would be the advice that I would give anybody is, just don't get hung up on the labels or other people's opinions of you. If they have opinions that they have come to that they've just made based on an assumption, then don't even regard those. Just go in and do your job and let your job prove who you are and what you're capable of.
Excellent. That's fantastic advice. Everybody can take that and run with it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what kind of job you're in. There's always going to be those times when you get around people that you see that may be doing a little bit better than you, and you sometimes wonder, can I live up to some of these expectations? But to your point, just do your job, and your work will speak for itself. So good advice. Thanks.
Yeah, I just wrote a piece called "Accidental CEO" because I'm not supposed to be a CEO. If you looked at my resume, it's just it was never on my radar. It's not something I wanted. It wasn't. I wrote this goal down, and I wanted to achieve it by this year. It was my journey, and it was step by step. And as a person of faith, I guess this is what God wanted for me. And so he made this way for me. And so I take it as a huge responsibility, and I want to do well by Acclaim in our communities and our employees. But it's, it's very important, I think, like you said, that people realize that life is a journey. And sometimes you have to forget what other people say, because you're always going to have those naysayers. You're right. You don't fit in. This role's not for you, or this is not, because you're always going to have that. And just get in and grind and do your job, and then that will show people what you can do. So I think that is a wonderful advice.
Thank you.
The other thing is, and I tell Tommy this all the time. So when I started this podcast, I think after the first episode, I was just so nervous, and everything that I would do was very this and that, and it was almost robotic, and it wasn't me. Like, I'm not robotic. Like, if you know me, I fumble words. I'm not. Some of my words are not proper. If you know who I am, I have to be authentic. Like, I can't be anyone other than who I am. I can't even fake being fake. And so, because it shows. And so, even doing this podcast, I told Tommy, I said, I'm going to fumble words. I'm going to have to read off the paper. I'm going to make a mistake. And that's okay, because my intent behind it is maybe someone will listen to it and say, oh, well, that makes sense. And I'm not perfect either. But I got a couple of nuggets that maybe will help me with my life. And if that happens, that it was worth it all. And so that's really what we want to do. So where I was going with that is, whose question is it, Tommy?
That's an excellent question, Christy. And I think what we'll do is we'll just jump right into some of the money matters. And because we're making make sense. And so I know a lot of folks out there are saying, okay, where's some of these nuggets you're talking about? Laura's gave us some really good ones. Cash flow is the lifeblood of any business. Man, in the restaurant business, when we were doing that, my dad had a convenience store, holy smoke. And sometimes you're buying large amounts of inventory that's going to sit there, and it's going to take a long time to get any of your money back. So even with you, big equipment, payroll, what is your philosophy when you're coming to managing cash flow and lifeblood? And it's not just, and talk to us about what it's like as a manufacturer, but also in your home, in your personal life. How do you manage those things? Because regardless of how successful or how things are, everyone has those ups and downs, and you just got to figure out how to navigate them.
I guess I have a couple of ideas of how to answer this. I'll see if I can intertwine them. My father, my brother is most like my mother, and I am most like my father. And and they both have always raised us to be good stewards of what we have. And I don't think they would mind my sharing this, but when they started the business in 1978, I was 7 years old. My brother was approximately 10 or 11. And they got married when they were 18 and 17 years old, and they just celebrated 60 years. But
all right, God bless them.
Yes, and it was hard. It was hard for them to start this business and raise two children. And we did not know until our adult years that they almost had to bankrupt 3 times to get the business off the ground. My grandmother, who worked at Cone Mills at White Oak at this particular time, she actually made payroll for them one time. And so as my brother and I came into the business, they'd always raised us, like I said, to be good stewards of our money, but they also shared those on a business level when we came into the company. And I guess being raised that way and having the gifts that God has given me, I have a gut for it. It's almost like a sense, and I'm thankful for it, that I know when to say no and when to say yes pretty quickly. But it basically just, it comes down to, I'm driven by the fact that I know I have to make payroll every week. And the primary goal is to make sure that those people that are basically selling their lives to Bibey Machine for 40 plus hours a week, it's very important to me to make sure that that money is there waiting, and that I'm not blowing money overbuying in this area or another area. I make sure that they are paid first, and I make sure our vendors are paid right there along with it. And, you ask about philosophy. I can share with you how my father handed over the leadership if you would like, if I'm not running long on this question. But he came in my office in 2009, 2010. I've been with the company 11 years, and he said, "I'm tired and your mama's tired." He said, "We're getting in the camper. We're going west for 3 months." He said, "You can call your daddy, but I don't want you calling your boss." And he said, "And if you burn it down while we're gone, you just burn it down. Do your best." And he left. I called my daddy. I didn't call my boss. He came back in 3 months later, did a lap through the locations, and walked back in my office and said, "As long as you keep it in the black, I'll stay out of your business." And that's exactly what he did. He never questioned me or my brother. He let us run it. And then eventually they transferred the ownership over to us. And, not many small businesses can say that the first generation can let go like that, because my dad was the machinist, he was the sales force. And he's lost some of his fingers and some of the equipment there. And, not to mention the financial blood they bled out.
Sure.
And the risks that they took, all while never letting their children know that they were in dire straits at times. So I just have to praise them in that area. But for them to be able to just let go and trust on something that they practically lived and died for really, really motivated my brother and I to take care of what they devoted so much of their life for and what they sacrificed for. So I guess to answer your question, being raised that way in the home and in the business, we were taught to cherish and take care of what we had in front of us.
That's fantastic. And let me just say, I really appreciate you sharing that. So many people look at, and especially in this day and time, in TikTok and Instagram, that they see influencers that just go from, young people to gazillionaires, and they think that's how everything is. And I hear about folks coming out of college thinking they're going to start a salary and it's going to be, 6 figures or whatever. People have forgot that, there's some dues to pay, there's some work to be done, and people can look at Bibey and say, "Wow, you got this great, fantastic business," but there is, and you said it, blood, sweat, and tears to get there. And so there will be more blood and sweat and tears as you and your brother continue on. So sharing that that's a nugget into itself, that people just got to realize, hey, do your work. And sometimes you just got to do your work and grind it out till you get to where you need to be. So that's good. Appreciate you sharing that. Yeah. Christy, we're on question number 11.
Thank you, Tommy. I appreciate that.
I skipped 9 for you.
It's okay. I saw that. I appreciate that.
No, we're good.
Yeah. Tommy keeps me straight. What's one financial lesson running a manufacturing business has taught you that applies to anyone's personal finances?
That's a good question. I would I think the first thing that comes to mind is don't overspend. Just don't get starry-eyed. Whether you're buying a car for your family or whether you're buying a plasma table, you can buy the high end that it really outpaces what you need, or it's much, much more than you need, but you buy within your means. And then once you build upon that level, then you can buy up. I've seen too many people that start off with the latest and greatest, but they don't have the first customer, so to speak, or they don't have the income to cover whatever payment they've just committed to. So I would just say, keep your focus in the world of reality rather than desire.
That's good. That's good.
That is good. Yeah. I agree. We see it a lot, especially with some of our younger borrowers. They want a BMW, and what they need is a Honda.
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly.
And Hyundai is a few years old too.
And I'm like, you probably need a Civic and not the Mercedes.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
I will help you with the Civic, but not the Mercedes.
There you go.
So let me ask you this, Laura. Do you? I'm a big advocate for mentorship, and I've had the opportunity to be a mentor. 14 years in Scouts helped me understand how to talk to young men. I'm not going to say I always did it right, but and in my walk, whether career or spiritual, whatever, I've sought out people that, and I had always told them that they're a mentor or something. They're people that I just go and talk to and I bounce ideas off of. Sounds like your dad has been an amazing mentor for you. And he comes from that era of hard work, love your family. Your family don't need to know all the bad stuff that's going on, which I admire big time. But what do you have mentors do you talk to? Do you have folks even outside of the business or that help you with certain ideas or something to bounce off of?
I do. There's a couple of different answers to that. The first one being one of the first lessons that my dad taught me when he was teaching me the business was, he said, we're not an expert in banking or insurance or 401ks or anything like that. He said, so what you do is you surround yourselves with people that are, and that are good people. And he said, and then he followed up with this, and I've never forgotten, and I've repeated it many times over the years. He said, you tell each of these people that you don't know the questions to ask, but you're looking for the answers anyway. And so
I'm writing that down. That's good.
Yeah. So I have, over the years, I'm very pleased with the accounting firm that we have, the banking relationship, the insurance, and on down the line, because those are my lifelines, if you will. When I have to make big decisions that are beyond my experience level. So there's definitely that. But as far as mentors outside of the business, my husband, first and foremost, he's my best friend. He and I got married shortly after I started working for the company. I'd been there about 6 months, and he should be on payroll as much as I come home and talk to him and vent and drag him through the things. And will you go help me do this? Or will you come do a cookout there? So,
That's awesome.
He's my best friend, and it's very beneficial to have him to know what's going on so he can help me navigate some of the difficult times that I don't share with the children of the company, so to speak.
Sure.
The loads that the leadership carries.
And he's a Marine. He's a retired Marine.
Former
too,
Marine,
right?
yeah. And
he's got the shoulders for it.
The joke in my family is it took a Marine to tame me. So
I can appreciate that. I was raised by a Marine. My dad was he was in Korea, and my oldest brother was in Vietnam. So when I came along, Mom was like, not just no, but it was HE double hockey sticks. No, you're not doing that. I lived through it, and so I have a huge special heart for any Marine. So that's awesome. Yeah.
But, there was a lady that worked with us. She's one of the best machinists that ever crossed our threshold, and she retired a few years ago. And she's a woman of faith, and I often reach out to her with prayer requests, and just to, I think we talked before the recording started about we're human. There's a war going on within us to do the right thing and versus what the flesh wants. So she helps me navigate those situations sometimes. So I'm very blessed to have the support system professionally and personally that I have.
So for our listeners, seek out those folks that are, to your dad's point, that are good people. They're going to be able to help you answer the questions they don't know to ask.
Exactly.
That's great.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I may have to use that. That's really
Please do. Please do.
That's really good.
Please do, because it's, it took pressure off of me at the same time too. The expectancy from myself to feel like I needed to have all the answers when there was no way possible for me to. So it sort of it gave me permission to not be perfect in all areas. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it was really helpful to me.
That's good.
Yeah, I'm thinking about using it and turning the tables a little bit and saying it to our staff as people come to us for the answers they don't know to ask, or for the answers to the questions they don't know to ask. And so,
that's good.
It's scary sometimes when you don't know exactly what to ask, but you all you know is you need help.
Right.
We, we've got a couple of branches now, and we've been talking to small businesses, and that's been great for us to be able to get out in the community. And there's a lot of really neat small businesses in the Triad. So if you could give any advice to a up and running small business, is there like a mistake that you often see that they should try to avoid?
There are two things that I would like to say to answer that. The first one being, when you build your business plan, build it on reality, not on emotion, which sort of touches on what we talked about earlier. I mean, I have seen businesses that, go in debt to the hilt on something that is emotionally pleasing to them when it's not very realistic. So, again, before you start off, find some mentors that can help you keep your feet in the world of reality rather than where your heart or your desires lead you. That's one. As far as a mistake, I don't know that it's a mistake. I didn't know, but I wish I had known when I was in my 20s of Leadership Greensboro and Leadership Rockingham. I've sent a couple of our employees last year, one in each, and just the opportunities of just understanding our community, our professional, our municipal communities. There's an enlightenment that goes along with that is so helpful for businesses. It teaches you social skills. It teaches you what your community is capable of, what resources are available to you. And again, it takes some of that responsibility off of your own shoulders when you have good people around you that can answer questions to save you from skinning your knees, so to speak. So realistic goals when you start out, and become a part of the community and the leadership in the community would be my answer.
Yeah, that's really good.
You're bringing up community, which kind of, which is good. It dovetails into your community spotlight. And obviously, you've been just an absolute wonderful addition to Triad Honor Flight. And
thank you.
The fact you've been on 8 flights and you've worked with 11 veterans. I didn't realize you'd been with that many. So obviously, Christy and I are both, it's something that's near and dear to us. I've been with Allison since day one. I was a guardian on the very first flight. And that's a whole funny story in itself. But then Christy and her credit union have been very much advocates for raising money through different ways for Triad Honor Flight, and we really appreciate that. What drove you to the opportunity? How did you get involved?
Well, to be honest, I've always had a passion for World War II history, if you will. And when I went back to school and when the program actually started, it was a new program. The Arizona State University partnered with the National World War II Museum in New Orleans. And that the first class, I think the first cohort was in 2018. But when I found out about that and then I enrolled, about that same time I heard of the Honor Flight. Mm-hmm. And I know it may make me sound bad, but I was desperate to be a part of it. I went online and volunteered through the website, and I got a very nice, we appreciate you, but we have plenty of volunteers right now. So my heart was crushed a little bit.
No, you didn't. Are you serious?
Yeah. So, it was very professional, but it was like, oh, they don't need me.
Oh my gosh, I can't even believe that.
I should be ashamed to say I called a friend that knew somebody to sort of get my name in a conversation. But Allison called me and she was like, and she's one of the most fair human beings I have ever met in my life. And her heart is for this. Her heart is for the cause and it's for people. And there's you a mentor if anybody's looking for one. Amen. But she and I talked, and she said, when an opportunity comes along, I will give you a shout. And for the third flight, I was called, and I actually had two veterans. I tell everybody I was assigned two fish. I had a bass and a herring. Tom Bass and Bobby Herring were my first two veterans. That's awesome. It just, not to go too deep in my personal weeds here, but my grandfather was a World War II veteran. He passed away when I was 16, long before I was mature enough to ask good questions. And that's been my journey since, and definitely my inspiration for the degree. But it has also opened my heart in a way that I would have imagined to our veterans and their experiences, regardless of conflict. Mm-hmm. And that, I don't know, I feel like I'm making him proud and making up for the lack of respect and gratitude that I did not give him when he was alive.
And I'll just take a real quick second. The journey for me is exactly the same in that my dad was in Korea. He was a Marine, and he was in Choson Reservoir. Uh-huh. He got 2 Purple Hearts, and he had a bayonet scar down his leg. I never saw it. My mom told me about it. He had a bullet wound in his arm, and I never knew anything about that. It was not a retreat. It was a fighting in a different direction. I don't know if you know the thing about Choson Reservoir, but the Marines were almost overran by the Chinese. It was a terrible event. And my dad would never talk about it. And later on in life, when I started reading some history books, I was like, wow, you think about it, you're like, you were this close to not even being born. If he hadn't, and the chance, the fact that he made it out of that. And then I fast forward to my brother who was in Vietnam, and he would tell me some stories when I was younger, and I didn't believe him. I was like, he's making this stuff up, because my brother was always a big storyteller anyway. So same thing for me. It gives me the opportunity to give back to some of these guys, because, my brother and my dad are both gone. So now I've got the opportunity to help some of these guys get through some of this stuff. And so I'm committed to getting every single veteran we can find in the Triad. So I appreciate you sharing that. I relate to that 100%.
And I'm standing right there with you to get that done.
Right on. So appreciate that. And I'm glad you told us about the World War II. I've never seen anyone have a master's degree in World War II history. And the fact that you're a lady also, like, okay, where's this coming from? So it absolutely makes sense. You're trying to connect with your grandfather and understand and that was a whole different generation and a whole different conflict. So that's good. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
You also co-wrote a book honoring a veteran/advocate. Tell us a little bit about that project.
Well, it ties back to my degree at Arizona State. I was in the second to the last class. It was a monuments and memory course, and I was writing a paper on the 82nd Airborne and the drop on D-Day into St. Mary Glees. And I was on the internet and I was watching this short film called The 6th of June. And about the third time through, I've read the small print on one of the veterans that they were interviewing. His name was Vernon Schmidt. He was with the 90th Infantry Division, 358th Regiment. And I literally got cold chills when I saw that because that was the same unit my grandfather was in.
Oh,
and I had someone that was and the video had come out, I think 2 years prior. So I was hoping that he was still alive. So a quick internet search, a contact with the American Legion in Fresno, California, and I was blessed to meet this man. And
that's fantastic.
He was in E Company. My grandfather was in G Company. And he taught me a lot. We pulled after action reports, morning reports, and there are multiple places across Germany that I can put them together.
Oh, wow.
There are some significant machine gun battles, et cetera, crossing the Moselle, crossing the Rhine, et cetera, that he and my grandfather were together. Although, he did not know him per se. He may have recognized them at their ages then, but he did not know him by name. But it was the best opportunity, the closest I was ever going to get to living what my grandfather lived. And this gentleman, he just passed away in January.
Mm-hmm.
He turned 100 in January and passed away in April. And I went to California for his 100th birthday. It had not been long since he had gotten his driver's license renewed, et cetera, et cetera. And so he inspired me. He is one of the most gracious and grateful people I've ever met. And to live through what he's lived through during the war and, just what life brings you. I committed to writing his book, and then there were 2 other ladies that helped me. He was first generation. A friend of mine was second generation. I'm third generation. And then we got a young lady who's a fourth generation to help us write it because it was important to me that all perspectives were present in the book. So long story short, we wrote the book. It came out in December of 2024. All the proceeds went to his honor flight, Tommy, in Central Valley, California. Wow. And it just tells the story of his journey and how the war affected him for the rest of his life. And when the book came out, he peddled that book every day until he passed. And so far we've raised over $10,000 for their honor flight and proceeds. So
fantastic! Wow, what a great testimony! Wow, that's great.
So tribute to him and my grandfather.
That's awesome. Wow.
Yeah,
that is cool.
Thank you.
Holy smoke! All right, let's pull it together, Christy. This has been some good stuff.
I know.
Tommy, if you don't mind, backing up to Vietnam just a little bit, can I share a story from my honor flight experience?
Absolutely.
Would that be okay?
Absolutely.
You were talking about, when I started in the World War II degree, I thought the program, I thought it was a history degree. I got so caught up in the fact it was World War II, I didn't read the fine print, so to speak, but it turned out to be a humanities degree. And I'm grateful for that, for what you said, to understand what they went through and understand what your father and your brother and all these veterans went through. Well, on my first flight, I went with a gentleman named, I think I told you, Tom Bass. Mm-hmm. And we just visited the Lincoln Memorial, and we had the Vietnam Wall, and we had a little bit of time before we had to be on the bus. And so we're sitting on the Lincoln steps and we're talking and everything. And I wrote about this in the yearbook that Allison had made up. But we're sitting there, and out of nowhere, a helicopter flies up from over the Lincoln Memorial, over the Potomac. And Tom, he just sort of did like this real quick, just out of reflex. And he quickly recovered and he apologized to me. He said, I am so sorry. I do not like that sound. He was a door gunner for a while on a Huey. And it just, here we are in 2000 and what I think was 22. And it took him back, 50 plus years, just like that. And I thought a lot about it after the flight on the way home. You don't know what people are carrying that just pass you in everyday life. Well, you fast forward 2 flights later, my veteran was a Marine. His name's Wally Estes. And he and his comrades, he was about 2 or 3 weeks out. I'd have to confirm that with him from rotating out and coming home. But they were sent out into the jungle and he was shot. His best friend and 2 of his other comrades were shot and killed. And he was wounded and he came home. And
Survivor guilt.
Well, and he did well. I helped him find their names on the wall. I mean, there's some that you can tell that they've made peace with it at some point.
Yeah.
But that day we were having lunch at the Marine Corps Memorial and we're sitting there, beautiful day, but almost as with Tom, a helicopter came up from behind us out of nowhere. And Wally, just as quick, snapped his head to the right. And I literally remember thinking, I know what he's going to say. But I watched his face and he just followed that helicopter. And when he turned towards me, he had the biggest smile on his face, which caught me off guard. And I'm like, I'm wondering what he's thinking. He said, did you hear that? I said, I did. He said, that's the most beautiful sound in the world. And I said, why is that? He said, because that meant they were coming to get me. Oh. So you had that exact same sound that, this man was saved by that sound. It gave him hope as he's bleeding out in the jungle. And the other gentleman, it took him to a different place. And it just, and like Tommy, that's why I love the Honor Flight. That's why I love all the veterans, regardless. For most of my life, I was fixated on the World War II generation. Sure. But now that I've been involved with the Honor Flight and I've had those experiences and I have been incredibly blessed to have been the guardian for 11 of them, it's just the day is very much the same, but the experience is different every time because I have the honor of walking this day out looking through a totally different set of lens and experience than the priors. And I don't know, that will always stick with me and I just wanted to share it.
Oh, thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm looking around my desk for Kleenexes and everything else. What does Allison call them? The Honor Flight allergies?
Allergies.
Honor Flight allergies. Yeah.
Yeah. We should start a podcast just about the stories.
We should.
You're 8 flights. I've been on 9. All of us could tell story after story after story. And again, and I'll be real quick about this for our listeners. We're moving on. It helped me understand some of the things my dad did that make sense now.
Right.
Whereas before I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this. I mean, what a jerk. I hate to even think that, you know what I'm saying? But when you see some of that history and you see some of these guys and some of the stuff they're dealing with, no wonder. I mean, it's just
right.
Exactly.
So yeah, it helps. It's a healing process for everybody.
It is.
For us, for them, for the volunteers. It's a total process for everybody. And so can't say enough about it. But you know what? Maybe we'll start that podcast. We'll start as a separate podcast.
I'm game. The generations of us that did not fight in those wars, we are affected by them. We are living with the remnants of their lives and how it changed their lives. And so it's something definitely, I think, important to reflect on and try to understand.
And if we don't share this and if we don't expand on this, then the generation is going to continue getting further and further away from it. But then it's just like somebody asked me one time, I was like, well, what are you going to do when you run out of veterans? I said, come on, we're never going to run out of veterans. I mean, after Vietnam, then you've got the Iraq conflict, you got the Desert Storm, you got all those. So it's a good healing process for all of us involved. So, hey, let's take it into the lightning round. Laura,
okay.
Coffee or tea?
Neither.
What?
I don't like either. Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper. Okay. All right. All right. Early bird or night owl? Sounds like you're an early bird.
Early bird. Yeah.
All right. Chrissy, what you got?
What's the coolest or most unusual thing Bibey Machine has ever fabricated?
I can't say that online.
That's okay.
All right. Is that good?
Yeah. The stories that's always my go-to is I had a gentleman walk in one day and he was rather panicky and he had a metal rake and the neck of it had broken off and he wanted us to weld it. And I'm like, okay, if you'll leave it with us for a couple of days, I'll get somebody on it. He goes, no, I need it now. And I'm thinking, what could be so important about it?
Rake.
Yeah, but apparently he worked at a crematorium and he had a body in the oven and he needed his rake. So,
wow.
Oh. Yeah. So, but I rushed it out, got somebody to weld it back together real quick. Off he went, and I was vacuuming up a little bit of grandma, for her.
Okay, good.
So
I'm glad we got some chuckles out of there.
That is interesting.
I mean, when I say we touch all walks of life, we really, really do.
Oh my gosh, that's good. Hey, what's your favorite place to grab lunch in the Triad?
Green Valley Grill.
Okay, good spot. Chrissy, we need to go back there. We haven't been there in a while.
I know, we really do. Any final words of wisdom for our listeners on entrepreneurs or money?
On their money? Wow. I don't know that I have any wisdom. I guess it would be, don't get so fixated on money that you forget to live your life.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's real good.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to Make It Make Sense, a podcast powered by Acclaimed Federal Credit Union. Until next time, let's make it make sense. And Laura, thank you again for being our guest. And
yes,
I am incredibly thankful for you.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for saying that.
Well, you have been an inspiration. You've been you've definitely shared some really good stories. Hey, if somebody's interested in Bibey Machine, how can they find you?
Well, BibeyMachine.com. Of course, we're on LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and all those other things the young people do.
All right, fantastic. And if anybody's interested in your book.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Thanks, Chrissy.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's on Amazon. So you can just search by Vernon Schmidt's name, Laura Bailey's name, or the title is a little complicated, A Hero and an Advocate for All Others, but it is on Amazon. Yeah.
Awesome. Very good.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you again, Laura.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening. Please visit us at acclaimfcu.org for more valuable resources. Remember to click the follow or subscribe button to make sure you don't miss future episodes.